Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars. SoundCartel. Someone's done you wrong, and you've done everything you can to avoid going to court, including mediation. But it just hasn't worked. So, what can you do now? From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Despite the costs involved and the time and emotional energy required, court action sometimes seems the only way forward. Maybe you're dealing with someone so unscrupulous that you believe you have no other option, or maybe you're determined to have your day in court. Yet, Paul Brennan of Brennans Solicitors tells Heather Dawson that lawyers will often try to dissuade clients from heading down this road, which can be very painful, leaving you bloodied and bruised.
It's like a boxing match. You know, if you just could do 3-minute rounds and knock out the other side or get knocked out and that would be the end of it, then probably litigation could be a very popular, it'd be a spectator sport. But in fact, litigation is very wearing and emotionally draining and something only to be entered into as a last resort.
But do you find, though, with your business clients, Paul, that sometimes they're just determined to slap a writ on their enemy because they're just plain annoyed?
Yeah, because it's such a satisfying thing. And if the credits rolled at that stage when you'd slap the writ on them, then you'd be really happy. But it doesn't. It goes on and on. As a client, you've got to be very careful not to go into your lawyer's office and bang the table and spook them into taking action on your behalf, because you may live to regret it. Let's face it, it's your money that's at stake, and your lawyer is more than ready to fight it to your last penny. But is that wise for you and your business?
Well, sometimes there is no alternative to court action, though, isn't there?
Look, in some cases there is, and your lawyer will say you've got to go forward with it. Normally, when you're being treated like a mug, then you've got to react to it. Sometimes it's just a complete and utter rip-off, and you've got to deal with unscrupulous people like this. Sometimes the person on the other side is just a ditherer, and you've got to get on with things, and you have to regretfully take legal action to get their attention. But if your lawyer starts saying, let's do the legal action, you know that there's not much alternative.
Well, if that's what you're going to do, you say that there are 4 things to bear in mind when faced with taking court action.
Basically, what a law action does, it compensates you for your loss. In some cases, it can move people along, but basically, it's not a deal. You're not going to profit out of it. Normally, you just get, hopefully, your money back, or maybe even a bit less. Secondly, don't expect to get all your legal costs back. Probably the court will order costs order, but that might only be about 70% of your legal costs, or even a little bit less. So even if you're the winner, you're going to be stung for a certain amount of costs, but the other 70% actually your opponent pays, so that might be quite satisfying. I think you should make sure of your evidence too. Make sure that you're going ahead on something which is fairly certain. And I think the last thing is always look for settlement and compromise. I think it was Sun Tzu who said in The Art of War, the object of war is peace. And that's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to get a bit of peace. You're not sort of trying to fight on. You have got a business to run.
So you can't hope to profit by taking court action?
No, look, you're not going to profit by taking court action. Really, it's just trying to get back some of what you've lost.
There's a lot to be said, Paul, for careful preparation if you take someone to court.
That's what you'll find your lawyer doing. You'll be banging the table and wanting to get on with it, and he'll be busy sort of taking statements from here and there. It's because I think that your lawyer will have seen often in the past that some certainty of information, it tends to go out the window once you start probing it a little bit. So your lawyer will want to take statements from any witnesses to make sure that they're committed to saying certain things, because I can tell you that goalposts can move, especially in litigation.
Any other bits of advice, Paul, about going to court and, hopefully getting a bit of satisfaction at the end of it all?
Well, I think that it can be an effective tool. And if you're dealing with unscrupulous people or difficult people, then calling their bluff may be the only option. But just be careful, be guided by your lawyer, and make sure you prepare carefully for it.
That was Brennans Solicitors Principal Paul Brennan. In the show notes of this episode, you'll find a link to Paul's ebook, The 10 Greatest Legal Mistakes in Business and How to Avoid Them. It covers all of the topics he's discussed over the last several weeks. You'll also find Paul's contact details if you're looking for additional legal advice for your business. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.